And you would agree that you can be pro-American if you don't agree with all the policies of the Trump administration, right?
Yes, sir.
And you can be pro-Israel, and there's a bipartisan pro-Israel sentiment in this Congress, if you don't agree with all the policies of the Netanyahu government.
Critiquing a policy that Israel undertakes is part of our democratic process.
And we have a democratic process too, and we disagree with the president, and that still makes us good Americans. So let me ask you this. Is it still the policy of the United States to oppose Israel's unilateral annexation of any or all of the West Bank?
Yeah, here's what I can say. I'll give the same answer I gave to Senator Durbin. We are in the process of laying down our vision for how to resolve a problem that is.
So, Mr. Secretary, if I could ask you, I asked about unilateral annexation. So that by itself indicates no agreement with the Palestinians. So my question is, it sounds like you've already abandoned what has been a bipartisan foreign policy of opposing the annexation of any or part of the West Bank by Israel. Is that what you're telling us today?
I think we've seen, I think it was Senator Durbin that critiqued our decision on the Golan, where he would characterize that.
I'm not asking you about the Golan right now.
Right.
I'm asking you about the West Bank.
And I'm telling you, you will see our proposal.
The polls are closing right now in Israel. And things could move very quickly. And as you know, the Prime Minister as a candidate said he would annex all or part of the West Bank. He said settlements, and then he said including outposts. And today you cannot tell us what U.S. policy is on this issue.
Yeah, again, I think I've answered the question as I'm going to answer the question.
All right. Do you agree that Palestinians should be extended basic human rights?
Yes, of course. Our proposal will absolutely have as one of its core undertakings making life better for the people that live in Gaza and in the West Bank.
And so if you had a one-state solution, since you haven't affirmed support for a two-state solution, would you agree that in a one-state solution, Palestinians should have full and equal political and legal rights with other citizens of that state?
I'm not going to engage in this conversation. Ultimately, the Israelis and the Palestinians will decide how to resolve this. We'll propose our administration.
You just talked about we were expecting the deal of the century, and you said the Israelis and Palestinians would have to agree.
That's right.
Okay. So I asked you about unilateral annexation. That means there's no agreement. And you can't tell me today whether that's something you support, even though that is, as you know, compromising the ability to have a two-state solution, which, as you know, let me ask you this. Do you think you can preserve a state that is Jewish and democratic and observes the rights of all its citizens without a two-state solution?
Senator, you're trying to get us to lay down what our proposal is going to be.
I'm trying to ask you about what our policy is today, Mr. Secretary.
Which will be America's policy on these very issues. You've seen our policy to date. We made the decision that I think, I don't know how many were out, but who voted for the move the embassy to Jerusalem. Finally, President Trump did it.
Yeah.
Right.
Which would, of course, as you know, Mr. Secretary, would have been part of any final agreement, and you didn't get anything in exchange with respect to the goals of U.S. policy. Presidents Bush, Presidents Clinton, both Bushes, Obama. So let me ask you this. Do you think it advances the peace process to cut off all humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians?
You should note that...
Do you think it advances the peace process to cut off all...
May I answer your question,
sure.
sir?
Yeah.
Senator, you should note that each of the presidents you identified didn't solve this problem.
Yeah, they did.
So whatever policies they chose failed.
I understand, and a unilateral solution is not going to do it. I would just leave you, Mr. Secretary, with the example of Turkish occupation of northern Cyprus, where Turkey would argue that they came in to help the Turkish Cypriots at the time, and Mr. Erdogan is going to love what you're saying about the ability to take lands that were occupied through force. It is a dangerous and slippery slope, and when it comes to the West Bank, it will undermine any effort of a peaceful two-state solution.